Hi everyone, and thank you for purchasing the Countdown Shopify section by qwiqode. In this video, I'll be showing you how to actually use it. So if you haven't installed it yet, please refer to the separate video included in the package, and you also have access to a PDF with instructions. So to get started, head over to your theme editor, navigate to the page you want to add the section to. Over on the left, click on Add Section, and search for the countdown that you installed. So here we have a default view of the countdown itself, and what you can see here is another box that appears that I'll get to in a minute, but it won't be shown on the live site, of course. It's only in the theme editor it'll appear, and you also have an option to remove it, which I'll show you. Generally, this is here in order to be able, when you set the target date, you will be able to put in your local time zone, so it'll be relevant to you, and then whoever accesses the site from anywhere in the world, they'll be able to use their local time and compare it to the relative time that you suggested, that you set relative to your location and time zone. So over on the left, we have a few different blocks to show. We have a countdown title, which is the one right over here, and we have the countdown, which is this section right over there, and we also have an option to add another text block here and a button. And then this gives you the freedom rather, to change the order of appearance of these different elements, and I'll get to that in a minute, but let's just put in some content. So the countdown, let's say we have a sale that'll be that'll start soon, let's say. So sale, almost ready to go. Here we have a section to put in title, to choose the HTML element of the title. These are for two separate reasons. There are two benefits for it. One is for better SEO. The way search engines index your site, they look at the content and they read through the headings, the different headlines that you have on the site, and you basically tell the search engine the importance of each one. So for instance, on a page title, you have H1. That's usually recommended to just show once, and that way Google knows what the page really is about. And for other sections, you can use H2, H3, and so on, in relative to the importance of it. The other benefit is that your theme already has certain specific styling options for each one, so you can just use one of those and that'll inherit the style that your theme has, so you don't have to go down and edit it on your own, but you can always do so. Moving on, we can set the color of the title. So you select here and you can make it red. Let's just keep it white for now. You can choose your own custom font by clicking here, and then you can select a font that Shopify offers, or if you have a manually installed font, you could put the CSS code right into there. You can set the font weight of the title and separately set the font size if you want different sizing, line height, letter spacing, and so on. Margin top and bottom, so that's the space above and below. So if you want more space between here, you can add some more margins, like so, or lower it. And then margin top, space above, and obviously here you don't necessarily need to add some more space, but in case the title is underneath the countdown, you can do that. We have these same settings for mobile version. So if you go in and you're viewing on mobile, you can set these separately than the desktop. Next section, I'll get to the countdown at the end. Text block, which is basically this section right over here. You can put in different details or content that you'd like. Maybe you'd like to say, 50% off or whatever, something like that. You could set the HTML element, and then you can also choose to show the target date that we'll set in a minute. But this, so you could have it appear like that, there. You can choose the date format, whether AM, PM, or 24 hours. Right now, it's still not connected correctly, so well, actually, the target date right now is October 1st, 2022 with at midnight. So that's why it's showing that. And this is actually the amount of time until that day. You can change the text that precedes the date right over there. And you can also choose to stack it like that. Then you can set the styling as we did for the title. You can change the styling for the block itself. Do that, make it like so. Something like that. Then you can also set this area separate. So you can make that much bigger, or let's keep that small, but then make the text font much bigger. Like that. And then obviously choosing the colors and the custom font for it, so you can make it separate in that way. And then we have the same settings for the mobile version as well. For the button, so you can have this button appear here, and you can say shop now, for instance. Or, you can have it, if it's before, check it out, and you can link to the collection page, like that, all collections, or whatever you'd like it to do. You could select the custom font for the button itself, and the font weight, the maximum width of the button, so you can make it smaller. You can add a border to it, which you can show later. We can remove the background color and just keep the border, so you can set that up like so. You can set up the border radius as well. And then margins, so you can add some more spacing like that. And margin bottom, if this button, let's say, was above here, then you can add some more margin bottom. Obviously, it still works here as well to give more space right over there. Horizontal and vertical padding. So the padding is the space within the element, so you can lower the padding if you want a smaller button. Horizontal padding, it's basically a mix. Sometimes you don't see the change, and that's because of the max width size. So if you make it much smaller like that, then you can have a button like that. But then if you add in horizontal padding, then you see the maximum width stays, but then there's more space in between. So it really does depend. It's a mix of the max width size, the length of the text, and the horizontal padding that you set here to get the right look and feel that you want. Then we have margin top and bottom styling for mobile as well. Moving on, we have the text styling. So we can alter the font size and the letter spacing. Same goes for mobile. And then we have button colors. So you can choose a different color, of course, for the button. So let's say we want that kind of background. We want a white, or let's say we'd like no background and black text and border color like that. I mean, that's not the greatest mix of colors, but you get the point. And then you have the hover color, so when you hover over, you can add a background color or a text color or borders like that. Next, we can go to the countdown, and over in the countdown, We have the labels for days, hours, minutes, and seconds. So you can update that if maybe you just want to have a letter, or you don't want to have anything. You can just hide it all together. So you have the freedom, or if you're using a different language, you can use that as well. You can set where you'd like the label to go. So you'd like it to be after the number or before the number, basically above it. And that's if it's stacked. If we have it in line, so we can have it before the number or after the number, like that. Let's keep it stacked for right now. Next, we can change the gap between the time elements. So this is also, we can also add, I'll show you in a minute, some borders so it's more visible, the change, but you can make it much bigger like that. You see they stack down below. Later on, I'll show you that you can actually make this whole section wider. And you can add more gap between the number itself and the label. So on mobile, you can also set whether you'd like each separate element to be in line, meaning they go, in mobile we don't have too much space, so it'll for sure stack, go to a new line, but you can choose to have them stacked all, like each one of them just like that, or have them in line, and then it's a matter of how much gap you have between the elements and the sizes of them. And there's an option later on that you can remove days and remove seconds, so then maybe you just want to show that, and then they'll be in line instead of one another. So you have that option to play with. Next, we have countdown top and bottom margins. So you can add some more space here if you'd like. And then the bottom margin is a space below. And the same settings for mobile as well. And next we have styling. So you can choose a background color for these. Let's make it, let's say gray. Or alternatively, you can have a white border with no color. And the moment you add in border width, then you will see the outcome. And let's move the gap a little bit smaller so we can see it just like that. We can add border radius to it, like that. And then you can give some more space in between if you want some more vertical padding, like that, or horizontal padding. And this again also is a space, it's a play between the area available and the gap between them to really be able to see a difference. And we have the same settings for mobile as well, the width of the item and the vertical and horizontal padding. So here you can also add some more width to it. Okay. Moving on, we can set now the styling for the number itself. So we can use a custom font if you want it, maybe enlarge the font size. Here now we see the difference in the font itself. But we can also go back and just say, let's do something like that, or whatever font you want. You can add some more space between the numbers if you want. And you have the same settings for the mobile's version. And then label, the labels right over here, you can also change those values as well. If you'd like it to be lighter gray, so it's not as noticeable, maybe even this one, like that, or even like that, for instance, and then change the font and so on. Font size, letter spacing for mobile as well. Next, we have countdown completion styling. So for this styling, we're going to have to go over to the other settings, but which I'll show you in a minute, where you have once the countdown hits 0, you can have a message that'll be displayed here. So that message, you can set the styling of it right over here, and it's the same settings as the others with font size, letter spacing, margins, and so on, and same thing for mobile. So if we go over now to the main section, here we set the target date. So let's say we keep the target date of 1st of October. Right now we're on the 23rd of September, but obviously you can change that to whatever you'd like. And then target time, let's say we're going to do it at midnight, or a minute before midnight it's going to start. So we can choose that, and then 59, like that. Now, here is where we put in this time zone offset. This time zone offset, this is your current time zone offset. So if you copy that over and just and then that syncs up to the correct time. So if you were, say, in New York updating this website and you want to go by New York time, then up here it would probably be, say, 04, and so you would paste 04 in, and then you can see that the hours will update. Because I'm right now in California, and so for me it's in 9 hours, while if I was here, then it's in 12 hours, like that. Next, we can hide this. Once, let's say you paste this and you don't want this to get in the way of your other work, you could just click that and it'll disappear. And of course, even if this is clicked on the live site, it won't be visible. This is something that is only visible in the theme editor. Next, you can choose to show the days remaining or hide them, depending on how soon your target date is. So then it makes the calculation of how many hours, and it just doesn't show the days themselves. And you can choose to hide the seconds. It's just like that. Next, we have the option that I mentioned before, show countdown when at 0. So when this comes down to getting to 0, we want to be able to show, sale has begun, let's say, something like that. So you have this code, and then you can choose to either show the countdown when it's gotten to 0, and it'll just say 000, and then you can have this and style it like I mentioned earlier, or you can just hide it. But right now, it's not hiding because the countdown, we're not yet at 0. But having that option, you know that when you do get to 0, then it'll disappear, and you'll only see the sale has begun. Next, we can set background color and images and so on. So let's say we'd like a gray color, or we can select a background image like that. Have something appear there. Or we can add a color above it so that it'll be easier to read the numbers. So let's say we choose a dark color like that, and then set the opacity to something like that, or even more. Something like that. Next, we have option for section width. As you can see, there's a certain width here that just matches the content width of the site, or you could choose full width, and that stretches the image or the background color all the way to the edges of the browser. We can select section top top or bottom margins, which is the space above and below. So you can give more space between a section that's right above it, like that, or below. And then padding, you can add more area within if you need to, like that. And it's also a play of the padding with the top margin here and so on. Same thing with bottom margin. Give it a little bit more space there, like that. Next, we have the same options for the mobile version. Next, we have an option here for the section text area styling. So basically this whole section here. So we can choose, let's say we'd like a gray background, or let's make it a dark background, just like that. And you can also set the opacity of that as well. Then we have text area max width. So we have the maximum width of this thing, which I mentioned before. So you can choose a different max width so you have more space so the numbers don't stack, for instance, on bigger screens. So you could play with that. You can also add a border radius. That's a little bit too much. There we go. Do something like that. And then padding within this section. So you can add more padding there to the top and the bottom and to the sides. And the same sections, the same settings here for the mobile version as well. So that's it. Thank you again. We hope this section helps you achieve your website goals. And if you have any questions or problems that you need help with, don't hesitate to reach out to us to our support page on the website.